Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for Plague of Giants by Kevin Hearne. But before we go ahead and get on into the review, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box below for links to all of my social media, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon, where you can be entered into winning book giveaways. First off, I just want to thank my patron and subscriber Jennifer for purchasing this book for me and also choosing for me to read it. It's because of you guys that I get introduced to new authors and new books, and it's one of the reasons I love this community so much. So thank you, Jennifer, so much. The way that I structure my reviews is I talk about the plot and world, the things that I like and the things that I didn't like, and then I give the book an overall rating. If you're interested in just skipping to any of those particular sections, check the timestamps down below. Plague of Giants is an adult fantasy. I would call it high fantasy, and it is the first book in a trilogy. I know that the second book is out. I don't yet know if the third book is out, and the name of the series is the 7 Kennings series. This is my first foray with Kevin Hearne. He is a new author to me. I do know that he has another series out called the Iron Druid series, which I'm not familiar with, so this was definitely my first experience with this author. In this world, we follow 7 different characters as they are essentially recounting their experiences with these invading giants. And it's not just one type of giant that is invading these lands, it is actually 2. So the first group of giants actually had to leave their homeland because a volcano erupted and basically ruined and destroyed everything, and they invade this other country and just decide to take a part of this land and make it their new homeland, even though it's part of this other country. And then we follow another group of giants that is led to this country because their holy book basically talks about some sort of prophecy almost that leads to this new land, and they are actually searching for something called the 7th Kenning. And leading us into the Kennings are the type of magical abilities of the people in this world. It reminds me a lot of like elemental ability, so you have people that can manipulate water, fire, stone, talk to animals, and supposedly there is this 7th Kenning that no one really knows what it is or what it does, or if they do, it wasn't talked about in this book. So these other groups of giants are following this type of scripture, like I said, prophecy, to this new world, searching for this new Kenning. This book is actually set up kind of interesting narrative structure wise. So we have a real-time story, and then we have kind of like a flashback timeline. So we actually follow 2 different characters in real time. The first one is Finton, and he is a bard, and he is recounting all of the stories from all these people that experienced this giant invasion. And then we follow Dervin, and Dervin is essentially a scholar slash like professor, and he works for the ruler slash like king of this country that had been invaded by the giants, but the giants were able to be thwarted due to their tidal mariners, the people who have the Kenning where they can manipulate water. I'm not really sure what Dervin's purpose in the story is yet. We see that Finton, the bard, definitely has some sort of hand in the political machinations of this world that are currently going on. Now, Dervin is propositioned by like the leader of this country to kind of be a spy. So he enters into that unwillingly, so I guess that's what his purpose is going to be, but at the beginning of the book I was like, I don't really know what the purpose of this character is, but he does develop over the course of the book. So we do have that real life timeline that does tie into the flashbacks. So Finton, our bard, is telling all of these stories, and there are a lot of characters in this book, and I'm actually going to show you. So in the beginning of my copy of the book, there are pictures and lists of all the characters, and there are quite a few. So if you're someone that doesn't really like tons of characters and tons of POVs, this might throw you off because there's a lot of characters. But the thing that I do like about it is that Finton is telling each character's story one by one. It does jump around between the different stories, but it's not like you have all of these different characters interacting with each other all at once and having to keep track of them. Also, these characters come from all over this world, all different countries, and each Kenning is kind of specific to a geographical location. So most of these characters, not all of them, do have a specific Kenning ability. Some of them are political leaders, some of them are military military leaders. So they're all sorts of different characters. And I kind of appreciate the way that Kevin Hearne set up this narrative structure, because with that many characters, I could see myself getting confused and losing track of who's who. But the fact that he actually focuses on each individual character's story one at a time really made it easy to keep up with who was who, and I really appreciated that. And I will say that even though you have a character that has a point of view in this book, does not mean that they are going to survive. I thought for sure all of these characters were going to survive, but he killed some off, just FYI. So I'm not going to really focus on all of the different characters because there are so many and we would be here for like an hour. I didn't really like any character story more than another. There are some characters that are good. There are some characters that are just likable. Some are obviously villainous. Some are obviously heroes, protagonists, antagonists. We can see that. So we definitely get like the point of views from all the different parts of the story. But yeah, definitely not a character that I absolutely loved over any of the others. So I really don't have any one character that I want to focus on. Now I'm going to talk about the things that I liked. So the first thing that I liked was the world building. I thought the world building was incredibly intricate. So you have this magic system, like I said, where each person is able, possibly, to have this magical ability called a kenning. And the way that you acquire this magical ability is there are kind of like these sacred spots in each country, and you have to go to the sacred spot. And if you are blessed with a kenning, you survive this test in the sacred spot, but if you don't, you die. So anybody can go to be tested to see if they have this ability, but that doesn't mean they're going to live. So I thought that was interesting, but I also thought it was problematic because what if you don't want to risk your life? Like, what if you have this innate magical ability, but the fact that you don't go through with the test means no one will ever know? So there could be all of these people walking around with all these magical abilities, but they don't want to die, you know, thinking they might die, so they're not going to go through with the test. So it was like kind of an interesting setup, but then kind of illogical at the same time. Another thing I liked about the magic system was that it was not perfect. There was a cost for using it. So whenever you exert your ability like a lot, you actually lose years off your life. So we see our title mariners at the beginning of the book. She basically keeps the giants from invading her specific country, and because of that she ages like 20 years. And we see another character who actually dies by using his kenning, and he knew that was going to happen. So I really appreciate when authors can create a magic system that has a cost, because it makes the characters not all powerful, not unbeatable, and have a vulnerability. I also liked the lore and the religion that the author created. This ties into the world building. So we have the fact that these giants are essentially leaving their country, sailing across the ocean to this new country because of what a sacred text says. And it's all enigmatic. We don't really know if they're translating correctly, if it's true, what this prophecy might mean. Really kept me interested. I liked the mystery of that. And there's one character who is a translator, and he is actually helping translate this sacred text with this giant that had been captured. And I think that was probably one of my favorite like character interactions and plot line, was just uncovering this mystery. So the author was good with his world building, his magic systems, and definitely his intrigue with regards to the mystery of the whole Kennings. Now I'm going to talk about the things that I didn't like so much. So the first is entirely subjective, and that was the fact that I didn't have a connection with any of these characters, which is sad because there are so many. Yes, there were plot lines I liked more, characters that I liked more, but I didn't have an emotional connection with any of them, which definitely took away from my enjoyment of the book. Another thing that really threw me off was the author's, I want to say, word choice, because this was a world that had like, you know, old-fashioned, antiquated, medieval type influences, but then you have characters that are speaking in like 21st century dialogue, and a lot of times that threw me off. And the same thing with the word choice. So I'm just going to throw this out there that the writing seemed slightly amateurish to me, and it reminded me a lot of a self-published author, and I'm going to put it in perspective for you. So I'm a self-published author. I have read a ton of self-published work, and we all know that writers grow and continue to continue to improve their craft the more that they write. I have read a lot of books, like first books from brand new authors, and you can tell that the talent's there, but they're just not at that level yet of their writing being polished. And when I was reading this book, in the back of my mind, I was like, this reads like a self-published novel. Like, the writing is almost there. The word choice is almost there. The dialogue, needs way more, but almost there. And this just kind of threw me because I think I was just expecting more of a polished author, and it read like a self-published novel to me, an author that still needs to improve. For example, there was this one scene where this woman whose kenning was to like deal with stone was trying to cause an implosion in this cave to keep the giants from you know, getting through. And she's working with this captain, and the captain is like yelling at the soldiers, and she's saying to all the soldiers, if you see a giant and you kill him, you let me know. And I'm like, what? You're in the middle of a battle. You have hundreds, thousands of giants and soldiers, and you want the soldiers to like kill one and come run to you. Hey, I killed one, boss. Run back, kill another one. Hey, I killed one, boss. Like, it just didn't make any sense. So there were like little phrases and dialogue and things in the book that just were really amateur sounding to me. And I'm surprised the editor didn't catch it and be like, this doesn't make sense. So that was probably my biggest gripe with the book, was just, it just needed to have like a little more refinement, in my opinion. All in all, Plague of Giants was an interesting read. I really enjoyed the world building, but I did have some issues with the writing style, etc. And I ended up giving this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm still on the fence if I want to continue the series, because there are a ton of other series that I want to prioritize in 2022 before this one, but I am interested enough to continue at some point. All right, you guys, let me know in the comments if you have read Plague of Giants and what you thought of it, and I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye!